If that story sounds familiar, it's because it is. You've heard it before. Former Florida State quarterback Chris Winkie was in the exact same situation. Running backs in Illinois, you think Ty Isaac, but another one I bet you guys are going to be hearing a lot more of is Justin Jackson. Colts organization sitting up on this podium, you could tell that they were visibly frustrated because every single question, we're at the NFL Combine. Not about the NFL Combine. It was about Peyton Manning. We are not taking the day off. We're going to continue to pump out content for you guys to know exactly what is going on here.
It is never an off day for you, Beth. I've learned that.
First round draft pick in this year's NFL draft. What's your thoughts on that?
It's actually pretty exciting. I mean, the first female is going to be a first draft pick.
Yes.
And the East squad was pretty stacked, if I do say so myself, at running back. When you found out who your teammates were going to be, how excited were you?
Well, I was excited because I wanted to see how good those guys were.
Beth Long here for Fox Sports Next with Nebraska defensive coordinator John Papuchis. Just wrapped up the spring game. A little drained, admittedly, but how did it go, do you think? One-on-one, you and your dad. I was all-time leading scorer. Who would win?
I would definitely win, and not just because he's 40.
Speaking of wanting to know, when he announced Rondé was the one in the corner screaming, yeah. How excited were you when he picked Arizona?
I was really excited.
Your job is to find the light, move to the active, that's why I'm hand in front of it, and get it back behind the line as fast as you can. Go through the entire series of... I'm a lot of breath now. Not quite as out of breath as a treadmill, but kind of out of breath.
What does Beth Long say he is?
I say at the next level he's a tight end. Right now for Marist, he plays more of a receiver position, but that's because he's probably the biggest threat they have. Another guy that's made a meteoric rise to the charts didn't even start with football, went to BYU for several other sports, ended up on the football field. Ezekiel Ansall, aka Ziggy, Jamie tells me, what makes him special? Now we got to talk a little bit about Syracuse recruiting. We're standing outside the Mello Center, ironically, but we're going to talk football recruiting for you guys. We just like the S in the background. Out here at IMG, Mohamed Sanu decided he would take me out for a little one-on-one session, teach me a few of his favorite routes. Check it out.
First route I'm going to teach you is called a slant.
All right.
It's a 3-step route where you break at an angle depending on, you slanting depending on how the cover's playing you. 1, 2, 3. You just break in. 1, 2, 3, and then you break in. Ran a pretty good route.
And their character has been proven at this point, but what is left to prove on the field for you in your first year and also for this team?
Well, again, we're playing under a little bit of a different set of rules.
In the end, you had 2 SEC programs on your list, one Big East, down to Pitt, Vandy, and of course Ole Miss, decked out in the Ole Miss gear. Now, how did you make that final decision? One of the tests that all the athletes here at IMG, including the Combine guys, go through is right here in the Gatorade Sports Science Institute. They test every single aspect of your athletic performance, and I'm about to go through it. Come inside.
When you're resting, you're using more fat than carbohydrates, but as the exercise intensity increases, you use more carbohydrate. So what we see is there are 2 different types of people. There are the people that use carbohydrate nearly immediately as soon as they start exercising. There are those that are really good at using fat, and then as the intensity goes up, they're still able to use fat really well.
Happy whatever 30. I feel better now that I'm not running anymore. But that was really hard. That was probably the hardest I've pushed myself in a while. And by a while, I mean like since I was competing.